The sale is coming April 11th, and we're really excited for that. There is a lot to understand, a lot going on, and we want to make sure that all the resources that you guys need are there. So I'm working to make sure that all the sale guides not only have all the written information, but we'll have video guides on how to participate in purchasing of Sway, purchasing of asteroids, things of that nature. I will also want to, maybe I can define and summarize kind of what is happening with this sale. So anyone here in the audience who is curious and maybe needs some clarification, it is that you can purchase asteroids, you can purchase Sway, and you can claim Sway that you've earned or purchased. So any Sway that you might want to purchase is token gated. You must own an asteroid or a crewmate in order to participate in the Sway sale. Once you own an asset, you'll be able to purchase up to $2,500 worth of Sway per asset that you own. Once the asset is used, you cannot move it to another wallet to use it again. Its ID is stored and you will be, basically capped. This is also a fair launch sale. So it does not mean first come, first serve. Anyone can participate throughout the whole week. If the cap is met and the money goes over the total amount, then the percentage of money you put into the pot is then going to be distributed to you in the percent of Sway that you purchased. So if it's oversubscribed by 2x, then that just is the case, and you'll get whatever percentage of the pot that you purchased. We're doing this specifically because we don't want one person to come in early and buy everything up, and then everyone else is sad. So we have been working really hard with the Alien team to make sure that all this is going to work properly, and we're really excited to do this. I think some things too to consider if you're new to the community is if you want to buy an asteroid. Those do come with an Adelian crewmate that will be mintable at launch once you're on StarkNet. And choosing asteroids is very particular to you. It's an individual choice, whether that means your price range or the size, spectral type, or orbital mechanics that you are looking for. These are questions that are, commonly asked, and we are going to also make sure that we push a guide out to everyone on Twitter, and we'll probably have that in the Discord as well. So if you're new, you'll have some basic questions answered, and the community loves to help. So if you're looking at trying to buy certain asteroids, you can absolutely ask, and you'll probably get 10 answers. So thank you everyone who's been here a long time and knows everything already. Okay, so I think that's kind of the summary there in terms of what's going on. I think also I had mentioned already, but I'll say it again because some of you maybe didn't hear me. We originally were going to have a not a fairly large, but a very large announcement coming today, but it got pushed to Monday. We just need a little bit more time to get that prepared and out to you guys. So apologies if you guys were expecting that to be on this call today. It is not. It is coming Monday. But again, really, really excited. I think all you guys will be pretty enthused by it. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. Also, again, because I'm reiterating everything I already said, there's been just some discussion around kind of merch and having a merch store for Influence. That is happening. The exact date on when it's launching, not sure. I'm still working out the final details for global shipping and things like that. But the store is put together, the merch is ready, and the final pieces are falling into place. So whether or not you want a hoodie, a shirt, a hat, or a space blankie, you'll be able to do that. So yeah, looking over at the questions, just to dive right in. If you will get refunded any money that you put into the pool that you didn't get allocated in terms of Sway. So if you put $500 in and it's oversubscribed by 2x, you'll get probably half your money back if you're only getting half of what you actually wanted to get. So no worries, you get all refunds easily. It will also be the sale on Alien is in USDC. So if you have ETH already, you'll just have to convert it to USDC and then purchase Sway. If you don't have ETH already and you want to purchase Sway, then you will need to just purchase some USDC. Asteroids in the game client will be pegged daily to the price of $90 as kind of that base cost, and then it goes up from there. But if there's major volatility in the price of ETH, that we're going to try and repeg that per day into the sale, because we want to make sure that both you and the team are protected from that volatility and swings. So I think that is maybe that's a lot of information to throw at you guys. So I think what would be best now is let me slow down and have you guys ask any questions that you might have. And if you guys are thinking that there is something lacking in any of the documentation currently, I'd love to know that so that I can prepare that for you for next week. One note on that, I have seen that people are asking, where is this sale happening? So for the Asteroid sale, it is Ethereum L1 mainnet that is going to happen. So MetaMask is typically the wallet that people use for that, and you'll need ETH. For Sway, it is again on Ethereum L1 mainnet, but you will be using USDC to purchase those assets. So that's some clarification, and I will be adding those to the sale guides that already exist. Darius, yes. The idea is that price doesn't go up. It's just that you get a refund. Nathrax, your question about will we use the same website for the next sale as we used for the last sale? So yes, it's just going to be in the game client. So game.influenceth.io, and that is where you will purchase Asteroids, again, on Ethereum mainnet. Commissar, a serious question about the bakery being your HQ name. I mean, I love baked goods, so yeah, I say name it scone or croissant or the bakery. Proto, I know you're up here. Do you have anything you want to add or say about any of this?
Yeah, I guess like one question is when are you thinking of releasing that document about the sort of different price points for Sway, like for what you can maybe buy with
Oh
Sway
yeah,
once the game's launched? That is a
yeah.
decent
So
version I think people will want.
few things. We are working on some infographics to help you guys understand how much sway is enough sway for what you and or a group want to do. So how we kind of think about this is that you're on a gradient of solo player, and then if you're a solo player and you want lots, then you're kind of within a range. But as you go up the scale of how much sway you might have, that is probably going to be geared more for someone who is collaborating with friends or running an alliance. So we're working on a small infographic that's simply kind of a scale to show you how much sway you might want for that. So it's probably going to range between, $1 to $10,000 in terms of kind of that gradient. And then if you want to go above that or something like that, you'll understand that there's, this is really going to be because you're trying to significantly expand your ability to do X, Y, or Z. So I'm going to be working on that infographic today. I think we should have that out probably tomorrow or Monday at the latest. Oh,
Well, yeah, I mean the community had brought up in the past that like not knowing what they would be buying with that Sway or how sort of the markets might be roughly expected to work around launch. Sort of makes it hard to know how much you might want to purchase in the Sway sale. So yeah, we definitely want to support that kind of questioning.
yeah.
What we don't have or and won't release is sort of a shopping list of like what we expect every single thing in the game to cost, because that's just so rough and unpredictable. Like we have some sort of sense of relative weighting of how different things, like how much materials they'll cost or how much time they'll cost. Like that's known. That's part of the production chain balancing. But what we don't know is the actual like market cost of things. So the thing that we do end up releasing will be sort of a rough guide based on what we know, and not a promise. It's not something you can just like take to the bank and be like, this is what I want and this is how much it's going to cost. It's just to set expectations on that.
We're going to give you the best information that we can at this current juncture. This sale really came about from, months and months and months of community kind of asking about Sway, and also with launch coming, it kind of simplifies things for us at launch to do this now. So with that though, we do understand that we don't know every price of every good. And that is largely going to be dictated by players after launch. So, we're going to do the best that we can right now. I don't know whether or not I anyone could hear me when I was talking about this, but our new website launched. We're going to have a sale page come sale, and right now you can go to our new website, same URL, influenceth.io, and see a new look. And we're really excited about that. We're going to be able to support the sale there, drive people, to information that they need, and just overall, I think, be more impactful for newcomers. So, as if you're already here, then you may not care as much about a new look of a website, but for us that on the team that are looking to build, new community and expand, it's a good stepping stone to that helps us leverage, I think a more professional look. That website that we had was the same since I think day one of launch of the idea of influence in April of 2021.
Looks like Dathrak has a good question. What time does the sale begin on April 11th? Have we decided a specific time yet for that?
So we're not 100%. We'll give that information probably by end of today or tomorrow. We're thinking 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm not really too sure what that is UTC. I know that we're targeting kind of 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time because that's where I am. And then that also opens up, I think, opportunity for people in Europe to participate pretty well. The time zone that it's not super friendly with is Asia. However, I just want to note this is not a first come, first serve sale. You have the ability to purchase asteroids and Sway throughout the entire week from the 11th to the 18th. So if you are in a time zone that's not good for the launch, don't worry. Just, bookmark the asteroids that you're looking to purchase. If you're looking to purchase asteroids, come in when you want and purchase them. It's going to be exciting and fun on launch day. There's going to be a lot going on. And if you want to be here and have some fun with the community members, by all means. But you shouldn't feel like you have to set your alarm for, 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever time people think is late or early. Some people have different bedtimes than I do. So I think that's good. I think one thing to note for people who are on this call, I know that there's a ridiculously there's not very many CIS or CMS asteroids left, I'm pretty sure. I think those were largely bought out in the last two sales. So if you have your eye on a CIS or a CMS asteroid and it's, one you think might be popular, I think that's really the only type of asteroid that I would say you might want to wake up for if this is in a bad time zone and be on for launch. Other than that, you really should be able to acquire any and all.
I'd agree with that assessment.
As Nathrak said, CIS mediums are already gone, and that you can still pick them up probably on secondary, but from primary, they are gone. So that's honestly really exciting to just hear. This has been a ton of fun building out with everyone, and to see certain asteroids get picked up because strategy is aligning with that. That's just super fun to talk about. I'm a CIS bull personally, a CMS bull as well, but I think most people might be overlooking single types and their power as well. I think the specialization that you're going to get from a single type is extremely powerful if used right.
Yep, it's hard to beat that giant pile of concentrated resources. CMSs, CISs are diffuse, because there's less of each individual resource.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's probably worth covering. In the last two sales, we kind of had these like boosts to rolling rarer asteroids and things like that. Not there anymore. It's 50% of the roll on scan is going to be common, and then I think it's 20% uncommon, and then all the way up to incomparable, where it's only 0.1% that you're going to get an incomparable. So right now you're looking at a 50% chance of no bonuses with the 50% chance of having maybe some bonuses.
Yep. It's an interesting reminder to people who are looking at secondary that, right now there are almost no common asteroids on secondary, and that is going to change with this sale. So, just sort of be aware of that.
Yeah.
RGI has a great question too. Are the starter packs on the 11th coming out on the 11th as well? And the answer is no, because the starter packs are actual game items like the ship and the various materials for things. Those don't exist yet. Those won't exist at the time of the sale. Those will exist a lot closer to launch time. So you can expect pretty close to launch time is when the starter, if not at launch, is when starter packs will be claimable.
Yeah, so another question from Nathrax. So what's the plan after the sale? Will we be getting a new UI for the testnet soon? Oh my God, yeah, like I am so excited. There's so much coming for the testnet after we do this sale. And honestly, we're not slowing down on any of that. That's all being done in parallel to the sale. We are not trying to take off development time for the sale. Most of the sale mechanics that are being implemented are actually helpful long term for us. So really, I think it was overall a good use of time and in development roadmap. And then along, with Patrick, at Charlie and Sergey, they're crushing it on creation of UI, backend development, and front end development. That's all moving forward. We internally have seen pretty much most of all the action windows that you're going to be doing, and then Sergey will be moving into, I think, marketplaces pretty soon. He's finalizing travel right now, so really, really exciting. In his words, he's not here, but he said he sees the light at the end of the tunnel in terms of like all screens being done in Influence. So that's huge. That's a massive, massive piece of work that he's been working on for a very long time. And I'm really excited for all of you guys to be able to play around with that soon. Phase 4, we don't have a date on yet, but there will be plenty that we can show before then. In maybe not to play around with, but you'll definitely be able to see it.
Yep. And I think one thing Sergey is working on right now is the ship view. So that's sort of the equivalent of like lot view, but for a ship. So I'm really excited to see what he comes up with for that, for the UI.
You heard it here first, ship spinning.
Yeah, that's coming. Olmops has a question a little while ago. Is the rate 10 Quay sway per USDC fixed and will be the same after game launch? I believe the answer for that is we have 30 billion sway, which will be being released, 15 billion of which for this sale that's coming up, and the other 15 billion of which we'll be selling after exploitation launch, starting at exploitation launch, as part of the sway packs that we're selling in our store. So basically, once that's run out, we will be market buying sway off of the marketplaces. It may be that we actually like put that 15 billion sway in like an LP in a DEX and then are just buying it for our store at that price. But basically, yes, it will be fixed until that second 15 billion runs out after exploitation launch, and at that point, it's sort of free to do what it wants.
Yeah, and if you guys want to understand Sway a little bit better, there was a post yesterday that we put out for Community Sway, and so that kind of goes into a little bit more detail, an overview of kind of how that Sway is being spread out. So really, I think it's worth emphasizing again and again and again, but we are building this game out for the community. We are passionate about this game, and it does not matter if we ever have VCs in terms of just general investment and things like that. No token warrants will be given out. Nothing no one will ever be able to get private allocation of Sway, especially prior to the release of the game. So that's largely due to the structure of this game and what we want, and it's a player-controlled economy. We can't have that if we have VCs owning a large supply of it. Let me see. Were there other questions, or is it more cookies and sugar talk here?
Mostly that.
Oh yeah, okay. Randy Marsh, is there any benefit to buying Sway at sale versus later? Yes and no. So I think the benefit here is that you have a like kind of a regulated price here. We're saying this is the market value of Sway, and you can purchase as much as you want of it, depending on how many assets you have. And you can feel comfortable that at launch you're ready to go. You don't have to be at the mercy of the market. Now, at launch, it's kind of going to be a roller coaster ride. We have no idea, how everything we're doing is trying to keep balance and to take kind of the peaks and troughs from being highly inclined to kind of even them out. But things will oscillate, and so I think it's just more kind of understanding that you have that Sway ready to go to play on day one without having to think about it. So I wouldn't want to say that we're. I will explicitly say we're not pressuring anyone to buy Sway. You are not required to have Sway now, but there are some benefits to it, and you'll also get early access to Phase 4 and to the launch of the game if you own assets or Sway prior to the launch of the game.
I'll also just directly say that like the reason we're having this sale now is partly to allow us to do some extra marketing push prior to exploitation launch. We really want this game to be vibrant, to have a lot of people in it. We want it to be, hopping with people at launch, and this is a way for us to sort of supercharge those efforts. We could have just started our Sway sales right at launch, and functionally for us it would have been identical, but we wouldn't have had that extra sort of in the pants to do our marketing with. So that's part of why we're doing it now.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning. Chris and I were talking about this today. This sale it doesn't need to like sell out. This is an open asteroid sale and a large amount of Sway. The goal here isn't for us to sell all 238,000 asteroids and 100% of Sway. Like we actually specifically limited the Sway to 15 billion rather than 30 billion because we know that we actually want some at start to be able to include in those starter packs. So as Proto said, it's to supercharge marketing efforts and things like that. Pretty much a lot of any of the funds that come in from this community sale here are going to be allocated to things to just help us increase the ability for us to build this game and market and get people in. I think at launch, really, we're targeting kind of 10 to 25,000 players. And then, huge amounts of efforts will go into after launch to generate sustainable growth and bring in content creators who can stream games. We'd love to reel in like Scott Manley and Aruba and people like that who have huge followings, but largely they do not communicate with Web3 teams whatsoever. So I think a lot of that will have to be done after proving that we have an incredible game and that blockchain is far in the back and gaming is far in the front. So we're well on our way to do that. Yeah, so Proto, maybe you want to talk a little bit about Nathrex's topic there.
Yeah, sure. So Nathrex is asking, do we have a material list of the amount of resources required to construct the different buildings? Basically, we have already shared the sort of materials that go into each building, like the sort of what is required for each building, but we haven't shared the amounts yet. The actual like how many tons of concrete do you need for an extractor or for a warehouse or whatever. Partly because those numbers are actually still pretty heavily being balanced. The buildings and the ships are actually like since they're the endpoint of a lot of the production chains, there is a pretty heavy importance to getting those balancing numbers right for the buildings and the ships. So those are still kind of in progress. I think the way that the production chains is coming together is that I will have a JSON of all of the unbalanced numbers available as soon as I get the last recipes numbers in. I'm still working on that right now, but as soon as those numbers are in, you guys will probably get that in your hands with a big fat work in progress stamp on it that says, these are still going to be balanced. But it'll give you a sense of like where we're going with those numbers. And then a balancing phase will go through that'll sort of hopefully put the polish on those numbers and make sure that they're, nothing's wildly out of whack with how we want it to be. And at that point, we would release another JSON file that has all of the balanced numbers in it. And, that's probably what we go to phase 4 test with is those balanced numbers. So you'll see that either way by the time phase 4 launches, probably a little bit before that.
Yeah. Also, I want to just give a shout out to. Is he in the audience? No. Tyrell Yuntai's app, in the community developers channel, he dropped something that kind of mapped out the entire economy and like its flow. Obviously, it's still in development because that isn't finalized. Proto still has to do some work, but it looks like between Illyrium, Darius, and Tyrell, there are going to be some pretty incredible apps for you to explore the production chains. And I am unbelievably excited to see how far community developers have already taken that. Also, another shout out. I just want to say, Starksite, Travis, you guys' team have been killing it. The sales bot, I know plenty of people are, watching that every minute of every day. So thank you again for that. Honestly, if you're someone who's building something here now, massive, massive amount of appreciation for you guys. And if you haven't already, check out QRS's video that we dropped in the general chat, and I tagged everyone, because if you're trying to share influence with friends, family, or just people within the crypto space, I have not seen a better video yet in explaining kind of the game in a concise manner with all the new visuals and everything. So huge, huge thank you to QRS there. Okay, so I'm happy to hang out here, guys, for longer, but as questions die down, so does conversation. I just don't want to talk at you guys. So please feel free to ask any and all questions. It does not have to be sale related. Be preferably game related, but if you want to know my favorite color, I'll give you that too. Hey,
Yeah,
RJ.
I just had a quick question about the lots and uh, resource abundance. I'm working on an application to see so you can see all your lots and the different abundances on those lots in one view. But I don't want to put in a bunch of effort if this is actually something that's going to be integrated into the game. Moving on to phase 4. As I don't want to, if you can't give away too much, that's fine. But I just wanted to see if that was the direction the game was moving into.
So, could you specifically just go back to what you're trying to build? Because we do have quite a bit being updated to like lot view and things like that. But I'd love to understand a little bit of what you're trying to build.
Yeah. So the different abundance levels for the different resources available on the lot. So you can see. You can either see all the lots or a selection of lots. And right now it's just like a list view, but you can organize it or you can sort it by lot abundance. So basically, you don't have to search individual lots, but you can just look it up and it'll tell you what lot it's on.
Okay, so Proto, maybe you have a little bit of additional information, but I know we are building out an Elasticsearch, but I'm not sure if it covers abundance.
Yeah, I can take that one, which is that there's definitely going to be a way in LotView to see all of the abundances for each resource at once. And you can currently actually do that right now if you, in the core sampling UI for a particular lot, if you start a core sample in the phase 3 client, you'll see a list of all the abundances on that single lot that are available there. So you can pick like which one to core sample from. We'll have a better window for that, sort of like a sidebar UI that is coupling with the phase 4 client UI. So for selecting a single lot, you'll be able to see all the abundances at once. What you won't have is like a heat map that shows all the abundances at once. There's just not a good way to do that. But, if a community member wanted to try to implement that, by all means.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm working on. All lots at one time.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that being a really fun little like desktop or browser plugin where you can type in the asteroid ID or something, and see the abundances across all all lots, and be able to kind of choose which ones might be best. I think that would actually be really helpful for owners or people who are going to be renting out land, because if they're trying to prioritize pricing in different ways, that could be extremely helpful. There might be really dense pockets of certain things on one area, whereas there might be no density or extremely low abundance of materials in a larger area on these bigger asteroids. And so having things, kind of walled off for like, hey, this is probably good warehouse and marketplace and external buildings that aren't going to need to mine anything from the ground. And so, yeah, RGI, I would say go for it. Like, have fun with that. I could see that being integrated really well with kind of what I would consider landlord tools.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we've got some pretty incredible builders. So, again, guys, if you're working on something or you have an idea, build out what you can and submit it to the ACC. The community decides who wins, and you can be rewarded with a ton of sway. This is going to continue. This next round is the last phase of kind of this initial utilization of the sway that was allocated. But this is going to start to turn into kind of what we're considering the community DAO and the community treasury. After launch, I'm going to be spending quite a bit of time in terms of governance and how do we go from kind of this central authority that is the influence team to pushing this out to being something that is very decentralized.
Yeah, I'll say that during a lot of our conversations, especially around like the marketplace and sort of the places where if we were malicious, we could, steal people's money, basically. We're designing our contracts so that we can't do that. Like for example, the marketplace contract is going to be immutable. Like it's not going to be upgradable. So things like that, we're sort of like, how can we make the system be as resilient to, all actors as possible, since we're sort of in this adversarial blockchain space. One of the things that has come out of those conversations is that decentralizing sooner rather than later is kind of a priority for us. It's not like one of those, oh, we'll get to it, once the game is done, or eventually, it's like, it's high on our list of things to properly start figuring out. Exploitation does come first. We need to get a functioning, playable game out the door, but once that is done, it'll be pretty high on our list of priorities to figure out what transitioning this into a DAO format looks like. So you guys can expect that soon.
Yeah. I've been researching DAOs quite a bit. I've been talking to Chris a lot about governance. A few of the community members have reached out to me privately to suggest certain things. There's a lot of options on the table, and we're not going to go into detail about exactly what that will look like yet because it's still largely unclear. But the gradient from fully centralized to completely decentralized will take time. And the first things that we probably decentralize are basic community treasury usage for voting on projects to be built, and maybe extra sway for activity incentives or things like that within the game. So that's all going to come fairly soon. Whereas governance, when it comes to potential, whether it's a liquid token or a soulbound token tied to assets, that's largely unclear still. But we do want to have kind of a government within game that's tied to both activity and ownership. So, that's going to be really exciting. But through all this research and time spent kind of understanding DAO structures and things like that, it's very hard to move quickly and make bigger quality decisions for kind of the cycle of the game when you decentralize too quickly. So with our strong focus on having this game being community oriented and things like that, being able to give a little bit of that power away over time is extremely valuable, because if we just hand it over all at once, I think we might run into much bigger issues of kind of struggles for power, or maybe areas that weren't well defined that are now trying to get defined by a giant group of people. So we'd rather have the container really refined before we give away that kind of control.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, like the centralization to decentralization pathway is kind of like a parent raising a kid. It's like if you let the kid go off on their own too soon, they're just going to starve. So it's like you have to sort of get them able to stand on their own 2 feet and know how to do the basic things they need to do. And once the parent is confident in the kid being ready to go, then off they're out there in the world and do their own thing. So I think hopefully it'll take less than 18 years though. It'll definitely take less than 18 years.
Well, maybe a Dalian time. I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so question from Nathrex: Will there be Will there be shared warehouses on AP everyone can use in order to use the marketplace, or do I need to build a warehouse first before being able to buy and sell? I'm happy to answer that, but Proto, I know you have a very concise answer to that one if you'd like to use it.
Sure, and the answer is yes. You need to have an inventory in order to buy and sell resources, because basically when you set up a marketplace order, a sell order on a marketplace, those resources need somewhere to be hanging out, to be coming from. And so, yes, a warehouse would be the obvious way to do that. I think technically, if you set up a building site, then bought materials into it, or otherwise got materials onto that building site, you could actually use that as the source of a marketplace sell. And again, building sites don't require any materials to build, but you also have that 24-hour time limit where if you don't, build a building with it in that time, other people can just steal all your stuff. So warehouse is basically required if you really want to do any serious trading on a marketplace. Is the answer.
And then to go further into marketplaces, Darius, I did not forget your question. I just want to answer Nathrex first because I think that leads in better. But any insight that you can give into how marketplaces will work? So I think let's go kind of with that one first. Order book system. So that's the general use for each marketplace, and you will need to set up kind of the price that you want to sell the good. You need to have the items in a warehouse, like Pro just said. But going bigger in terms of like how does it work with potentially thousands of different marketplaces across different asteroids and different prices of different items on different marketplaces on the same asteroid. This is actually, I think, going to be a great community tool to help kind of refine searches across the belt with marketplaces. However, Proto, correct me if I'm wrong here, but at the launch of the game, really, you choose the marketplace you want to look at, and you will look at the prices of those goods.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that we have currently designed in the UI to get into a marketplace. But just to describe the mechanics first, again, as JP said, it's a order book marketplace, which means that there's kind of 4 different types of orders that can be placed in an order book marketplace. The first 2 are orders that are placed by patient people. They're what are called limit orders. So you can say, I want to sell 100 tons of taenite at this exact sway price. So you pick a particular price and you create that order, and then it goes into the marketplace and just sits there. Or you can do the inverse. I want to buy 100 tons of taenite for this less than such a sway price, and it just goes in there and sits there. Assuming that there aren't already orders that could match immediately with that. If there are, then you might actually just get that right away. But if there aren't, then it'll just go and sit there in the marketplace. And you're a patient person and you just want to get it at that exact price. The other side of the coin is the orders for impatient people, which are called market orders, where you come along and are like, I just want to buy 100 tons of taenite. I don't care how much, like whatever the market price is, I'll pay it. And so in that case, you come along and you put in your sway, and it will match you with some of the orders, the limit orders that are already existing in the marketplace. And you'll basically execute those orders, and the trade will take place, and it'll sort of cancel out that limit order that was sitting there in the marketplace, or vice versa. If it's a buy order. So basically, if you're patient, you can get a price that you want. If you're impatient, you just get whatever the market price is. That's sort of how those order book marketplaces work. And so, every single building is its own marketplace. It'll have its own its own order book present. All the orders that are in a marketplace together are called liquidity. And you want more liquid marketplaces because that means there's like more offers that are available at different price points. Liquid is better when you want to do trading. So, we expect to see a lot of sort of concentration of orders on the bigger marketplaces, the more popular ones. But keep in mind, there's actually a mechanic that we have for marketplaces, which is that will be limited in how many products you can actually sell on a marketplace, or buy and sell, trade on that marketplace. You can expect that to be a fairly low number. We haven't finalized it yet, but somewhere in like the 10 to 20 different products range. And keep in mind that there's around 250 products total in this game. So at exploitation launch. So each marketplace will have to specialize. You'll have to decide as the marketplace owner what will be able to be bought and sold on that marketplace, and pick your items carefully because it needs to make sense. Like if it's just some random set of things, then people will be like, I don't get this marketplace, I'm not going to use it. But if it's like, this is all metals, you're going to be like, okay, I get that, I'll go to the metals marketplace if I want metals. And so we really hope to sort of see some interesting dynamics around buildings being set up for specific uses, using that mechanic. And yeah, there'll be potentially hundreds of thousands of marketplaces on Adalia Prime, and more than that across the belt. You'll have to go into the UI as we were talking about. There's lot view UI, which is where you click on a lot that has a marketplace on it, and you'll be able to see, the exact depth chart for each product that's available on that marketplace. You'll be able to see what the fee is, like all the stats about that marketplace. And you'll be able to, execute any of those 4 types of orders when you're just looking at it at that time. If you want to see a broader, like what's going on this asteroid or what's going on across the belt, we'll have this more powerful list view tool, which actually lets you search, create a search of the type. Basically, I want to see what amount of each material or product is available on each asteroid, on each marketplace. It's like a product, comma, asteroid, comma, lot triad that you're searching for. And so you'll basically be able to figure out what is being sold where and how much of it, but you won't be able to look at the specific prices. It'll be sort of your entry point. You'll be like, okay, I want to find, the closest things to me that are, or, some things that are on the same asteroid as me that are selling this one product or buying this one product. You can do that search, and then you'll click into those lots to see the actual like order book or see the depth chart and to actually place those orders if you want to. And as JP said, like there's a high likelihood that community tools will be available that will sort of collate that information in different ways. So I think you can expect to sometimes want to go out of the game to get different information on marketplaces, but there will be a fairly good array of tools that you'll have available in game to access those. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, some more questions for you. So there's no solar systems wide market search for individual items. I think you just kind of covered that, but maybe you want to go into a little bit more detail on that.
Yeah, it's more that there's no belt-wide search for individual orders or individual prices. What you can do is you can say, I want to see every single marketplace in the belt that has Pigmate for sale. You can do that. And what you can't do though is see like exactly what the prices are, the order books or the liquidity. There'll be like a single number for each product, comma, marketplace, comma, asteroid triad. So just some basic information about that. And then, so if you see like, oh, here's a promising looking asteroid that's kind of close to me and it has, hydrogen propellant on it, you can click into that and then you can see the full order book on that lot, on that asteroid for that marketplace for hydrogen propellant, and you can decide if that's what you want to do. And if it's not, you go back out to the list view and try another one to see if that has what you want.
It should be a pretty easy flow too. You filter, you click. If you don't like it, you just close it and maybe click another asteroid that's close by or a marketplace that's close by.
Exactly. And Travis asks, orders don't expire. Yeah, limit orders in the current design will be there as long as you have them available. There are some interesting questions about like, oh, what happens if your warehouse gets blown up, but in conflict, but that's a ways off, so we can't really sort of get to that point yet. So for now, it's you place orders, and I think there may be a possibility that a marketplace owner could potentially clear out all the orders in their marketplace if they wanted to. For example, if they wanted to change which products that are available. So there may be some mechanics whereby orders go away. Like you can cancel them as an order holder creator, obviously, and so maybe the marketplace owner can also cancel them, but they won't expire on a time basis. Juice is asking about simplifying the crew assignment process. Lauren, crew assignments is great, but I'm not eager to click it through it 1,000 times. I would say that right now, the vast majority of our players are only going to be doing a few, crew assignments to start with. They probably won't have 150 crewmates like I know a few of you do. Obviously we want to support our power players, but I think having like an automated way to go through that that may be more in your hands to try and write a script that actually calls those contracts if you're like really worried about doing it hundreds of times. It's kind of a good problem to have, I guess, is the way to put that.
Yeah, Taylor, any article you can read for the sale? Yes, there's quite a few. The prepare for launch sale gives a good overview, and then there's some additional documents that will take you into kind of the more focused material about purchasing asteroids or Sway. And I will also be making video guides to ensure that if you don't know how to purchase asteroids, you will be able to just click a YouTube video, watch it. It's probably going to be a minute or less, and you'll have everything that you need to just be able to purchase that asteroid. If you are looking to purchase asteroids, though, there are nuances for each asteroid, and it's probably best to kind of understand what the size of asteroid does, what the spectral type does, and what the orbital mechanics do. Generally speaking, I would say bigger is better. More space equals more opportunity. Then for spectral type will dictate what materials can be mined on that asteroid specifically. There are different kind of arguments for whether or not you want multispectral, meaning things that have multiple types of resource groups on the surface or beneath their surface that can be mined, or single types, which have kind of generally one or a limited set of resources that are more focused and specialized. So really that's an individual choice there. And then orbital mechanics, you don't need to get too lost in these. I think that's really where you can get super nerdy and like refine, but they're not going to make or break pretty much anything in the game. One of the largest things that I would say if you're looking at orbital mechanics is that inclination, basically the angle in which it rotates around the belt, is probably the most impactful when it comes to orbital mechanics. You probably want to find something with a lower inclination rather than a higher, unless you're really trying to specialize in something that you think a high inclination would help you with. So yeah, I would say 10 degrees or lower in inclination is like a sweet spot. Anything above there is totally fine, but once you get to like the 20 or 30 range, that's a highly inclined asteroid. I personally own a ridiculously high incline asteroid with a really weird semi-major axis that's tiny and is an I-type in the outer belt, and it is purposely bought to be trying like the most challenging asteroid that I could possibly find. But that's more just for me to have fun. Again, if you just want to have fun and own an asteroid that you think it might be a challenge, that is fantastic too. I'm looking forward to watching streamers go, I own a tiny I-type in the outer rim, and I'm going to try and survive. I will watch that stream all day long. Let's see, were there other questions here? I don't see additional, any decisions been made in simplifying the crew assignment process?
I just took that one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was reading questions, so I didn't hear you. Okay, no worries. Yeah, I don't see any newer questions.
I think people are pretty sad, although I see some typing.
Yeah, I see typing, so I won't stop yet. We got another 10 minutes that I can go. Proto, I don't know if you can stay for the rest, but I'm happy to be here for another 10. I see a few more people typing. Oh, maybe just I'll mention, last week we had a fun call with alliances, and I was really happy to kind of dive in with those alliances and larger groups to initially strategize around what that might look like and what kind of help you guys need there. I will say, anyone here in the audience that's not already part of an alliance, there's no need to be. However, if you are looking to coordinate with larger groups, I'm going to be trying to host a fairly regular, larger group cooperation and alliance chat where people can talk strategy, maybe talk about tools that they might need, content that might be helpful, things like that. So that while you guys may be competing against each other or in collaboration with, you can all support each other in terms of kind of just the general understanding of the game and maybe tools that can help all of you guys. So I think working together right now is probably more helpful than working against each other, simply because at launch of the game, there's so much opportunity to capitalize on, how many products do we have, Proto? 270? What is it?
250-ish, a little bit less than that.
So you're going to have a lot of opportunity here.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So will we be able to build ships on AP? Yes. I mean, you can build ships on any asteroid, given that you have the correct materials to do so, and a shipyard, and potentially a spaceport to dock said ships. They'll get kind of thrown into orbit once they're built. But if you don't have a spaceport to park anything that can't land on an asteroid, so heavy transport or shuttle, then you're going to be a little bit SOL there until you get that spaceport up and running. So I think, to think about ships, you're going to need the right materials. You can build them anywhere, but you're also going to need a shipyard and potentially a spaceport. So that's going to be, I think, something very attractive for people on AP or jutting off to bigger alliance asteroids to get up soon. Having just kind of a spaceport, a habitat, a marketplace, a shipyard, kind of all the core buildings there to really accelerate your growth. And then, warehouses, extractors, things like that you're going to just explode in growth with those, and then build out kind of refineries and the factories as needed.
Yep, that's a great answer.
Will we be able to buy all materials for a light transport at launch from the shop? Ooh, this is a good question.
This is a good
Proto,
question.
you wanna
Yeah,
take that?
we've been thinking a lot about that, and the answer is almost certainly yes. At launch, we will be seeding basically everything in the production chains, every product, everything that is available that you would want to sort of get the game running, get the economy up and started. The one thing that we will not be putting as many as we think people want is the ships. There will be, a specific number of light transports, of shuttles, and of heavy transports available at launch, and those are available just to the early access asteroid holders. So people who bought asteroids in, I guess, April of 2021, 2 years ago, those people will be able to have ships that they can claim from those asteroids at launch, right at launch, at the moment that the game goes live. And there will be, I think it's like something like 1,500, 1,400 light transport, maybe a little bit more, like 1,800 light transports, I think is the actual number, and slightly like 250, somewhere in there, 300 shuttles, and 4 heavy transports. That is the entire set of ships that will be available at the moment of launch. So, if you want a ship right at launch, you're going to have to either have one of those asteroids or negotiate with somebody who does to get one of those ships. But for building them, as the question asked, the materials to produce them, like the immediate products that go into making each ship, we will be seeding those. Those will be available on the seeded marketplaces. So if you want to buy like all of the different modules, all the different hull components, we probably won't actually seed the actual hulls themselves, the ship hulls. I think it'll be more fun to have you guys natively build those. But the modules for hulls, hull components, which are sort of like the one step down from those, will be available, will be seeded. So to get a ship to be produced like natively on Adalia Prime, racing to produce those right after launch, what you need to do is you need to get the materials to build a shipyard. You need to build that shipyard. You need to get the materials to produce the ship hull. You need to get the materials to produce the ship once you have the hull. So all the integration modules to go with that. And then you'll need to construct that hull and then construct the ship. So there's sort of those a number of purchases you need to make, and then the three processes that are sort of entailed there to get up to a fully assembled ship. So you can expect that to take anywhere from several days to several weeks if you're not a very well aligned crew. So within the first day, like there will not be any more ships than what is seeded to the first pairs of asteroids in the game, and within a few days, we might start seeing the first natively produced ships coming out, and sort of a slow ramp from there until everyone has the ships that they need.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting too, there's been a lot of discussion. We're very likely to very carefully add additional components for kind of those ships towards the top end of the funnel of production. We don't want to mass produce ships in the first few days. You guys who have ships are going to definitely have a head start there, and it's going to be quite the I don't want to say challenge, but triumph to craft your own ship with an influence, even with the materials seeded on the marketplace. We want this to feel rewarding, and it's also going to likely be quite pricey to purchase those modules, the shipyard to build it, have a spaceport ready. There's a lot that goes into that, between having a warehouse to store the goods, having the materials be refined fully, like Proto said, we might not have ship hulls completely on the market, and then having that shipyard to actually build it is going to be a fun challenge, I'll call it. So I think it's a good balance between kind of those who get ships and those who have to build them, and kind of making sure that those ships that were there are quite valuable in terms of utility at launch, while also not like intentionally restricting ships forever so that those ships are the only ones in the belt for a long time. Okay, so there were a few questions here. It looks like Proto answered it, but just so it's on the recording, the question was, what's the valuation for Sway? We have 130 billion Sway is the initial supply, and fully diluted value at launch at 10K Sway per US dollar means $13 million for that market cap. No cap on the actual supply though, as the Sway inflates through our tokenomics system. You can take a look at that and understand that better if you'd like. The inflation is based around activity within the game or ecosystem, and you'll kind of see an ebb and flow in terms of how much Sway is pushed into the market. This is intentional, and this is so that anyone who comes into the game can get in at a reasonable cost and start playing. Games like Axie Infinity and things like that really failed their community eventually because it was too expensive to play a game. You can't really grow a game if you can't afford to play it, or the average person can't afford to play it. So we're doing our absolute best to create a system that is about kind of building out your infrastructure, increasing your influence, and rewarding those in game who are largely cycling those goods around the belt and being specialized in whatever it is that they want to do within this game. I think to look at this game simply as a way to earn money is not the right way. There will be plenty of people who are doing that and trying to do that, but I think overall this is a game. We're going to have fun, and there's going to be plenty of players, and this should be absolutely emphasized that their goal is not to make money, it is simply to have fun. And I think that is a really good balance to strive for, because without those people who just want to have fun, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So doing everything we can to ensure that this game is both extremely fun from a game perspective and to have a solid, foundational economic structure. Let's see here. We got another minute here. Were there other questions? Okay, so I don't know if it's Dohai or Doey. I'm going to call it Doey because I'm now thinking about baked goods thanks to Commissar. Your question is, how do you purchase Sway, and how are you eligible, or how much Sway can you get? So for every asteroid and crewmate that you own, whether you purchase it in this next sale or you already have it, we'll give you the opportunity to purchase up to $2,500 US dollars of Sway. 10,000 Sway per US dollar is the equation there. So feel free to do the rough math and figure out how much Sway you might want. And we're also going to be building out an infographic for you guys to understand kind of where you are at on the gradient of how much Sway and how much Sway you might want depending on what you want to do in game. Hopefully that gives the answers you guys are seeking. It is now 12 for me, and I need to hop and do a whole bunch more work here. So thank you guys all for being here. If you have additional questions, ping me in the general, and I'd be happy to answer your questions. Proto, thanks for being here, and really looking forward to the sale, guys. And I will just reiterate at the end, there is a referral program. If you guys are bringing your friends into this game, you might as well give them your code. So go to your account, the Ethereum L1 mainnet, log in, go to settings, click generate link, share that link out. You will get 2.5% of all the sales that come in. Those have to be brand new people. They cannot already own things. So just know that. We will be doing some chain analysis to make sure people are not gaming that system. So just know that. But have fun, guys. We'll see you soon. If you got questions, ping us. Thanks, and have a great day.